Let's begin. I want to begin with this, not because it's such a big gaffe, but just because it actually does reveal what the mainstream media thinks. This is Mika Brzezinski on Morning Joe, and listen carefully to what she says as cut number 10.
He could have undermined the messaging so much that he can actually control exactly what people think, and that is our job.
It's our job to control what people think. So let's take a look at some of the ways they control what people think. Let's go first of all to these are some of the most embarrassing moments of the year on the media. Let us go first to cut number 8, which we will put under the heading emotionalism. This is just Jimmy Kimmel coming out and attacking the Republicans for wanting to repeal the boondoggle call and the anvil that has been tied to the foot of the economy for all these years, Obamacare.
No parent should ever have to decide if they can afford to save their child's life. It just shouldn't happen. Not here.
But the comedy never ends on that show, does it? It's like, that's great. Let us look at after the election. Here is a collection. Again, this is from Grabian, a collection of questions that were asked to Hillary Clinton, asking her the tough questions about her email, about her mistake in Libya, about her bad, term as Secretary of State, about her corruption with the Russians, her dealing with the Russians. They were really hammering her with tough questions. Here they are.
Alternate nostril breathing.
Yes.
What is that? And dare you give me a demonstration of that?
At this stage in your life, does even having to ask yourself the question of why hurt?
Do you give absolution to those who didn't vote, to women who didn't vote?
No.
Welcome back. My interview with former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is now subject to a brief interruption because of this important video of a sneezing panda. All right, so the mom, Madam Secretary,
What's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Oh, the hard questions.
How did you get out of bed in the morning? Because I did not run for president, and I could barely do it. Well, cheers.
It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. And the whole thing about Donald Trump, their attacks on him as a moral person, which I think are actually legitimate, they keep blanking out the fact that they were voting for Hillary Clinton. That was the choice we had, and there's just no taking that out of the equation. There was no taking it out of the equation that when you're talking about who we voted for, we were choosing between Donald Trump, who has done a lot of things that are questionable, his treatment of women and so on, the way he has lowered the tone of conversation, all of that. I'll accept all of those charges. But he was running against a crook. He was running against an incompetent. He was running against a woman who stood in front of the bodies of dead Americans and lied to the American public about how they got that way after Benghazi. She's an absolute gangster. And there he is, Stephen Colbert toasting her away. I mean, you can never forget that. Whenever my liberal friends come after me about who Donald Trump is, I acknowledge a lot of it. I think he's rude. I think he has brought down the conversation. I think he does things that, he hasn't got a feel sometimes for what a president should say, but he's doing a great job. He has done a great job at the presidency. And if he is not the highlight of, if he's not Abraham Lincoln, listen, I wish Abraham Lincoln were running against George Washington. That's what I wish. I wish that I had been able to say, wow, I don't know which of these guys is greater. I got to really work on this. Which of these guys are greater? We're not living in that time anymore. Them days is gone. And am I sad about it? Yeah, but come on. This is it. This is the only life you got. I'm not going to sit around and stab myself over the fact that the president is rude, especially when he's doing the terrific job he's doing. Let's look a little bit more of these Grabian clips. This is a great one. This is cut number 6. This is the absolute craziness of the Trump hate in the media.
When you have a president with absolutely no morals, who's a bully, who acts like a bigot and a racist, and is a sexist and a sexual harasser.
Donald Trump staged a hostile takeover of the Republican Party on the right, and now we are where we are.
Outside of the Civil War, World War II, and including 9/11, this may be the most cataclysmic event the country's ever seen.
I'm hysterical. I'm having hysterics. I'm hysterical. I can't stop when I get like this. I can't stop. I'm hysterical.
Okay, I may have added that last one, but the rest of them, that was Mark Halperin, serial sexual abuser, alleged sexual abuser Mark Halperin, saying that, with World War II, he did say that, right? I did hear him say that. With World War II, that Trump was one of the great cataclysms. The election of a Republican president, which is all he's turned out to be. I mean, Ann Coulter is angry at him because not a foot of the wall has been built. The influx of illegal immigrants has virtually stopped. So, we don't even, the wall as a symbol, I guess it remains. He promised a wall. I guess he has to build something that looks like a wall at some point. But, you're still complaining about that when all these victories, and I'm not even going to go through them again, all these victories for conservatives, it has been an amazing year. I was on the radio in Chicago yesterday. This is kind of funny. I go on this wonderful show, and I think it's Dan and Amy, and I talk to them. Every couple of weeks, they call me up. It's a morning radio show in Chicago, and it's usually kind of a love fest because we kind of agree on virtually everything. And they've read my book, The Great Good Thing, and they really like it. But the male host was out, and this guy Sean was stepped in for him just before I went in. The producer said, "So it's Sean today. You want to say Sean and Amy?" So I said, "Fine." And I went on the air, and they asked me about this article I'd written about how Trump had made the government more moral. I've talked about that on the show. And Sean just went off on me and started yelling at me about all the things he hasn't done. And I said, "Sean, it's been a year of the presidency. You could take any president from George Washington on and talk about the things that he hasn't done, but the things that he has done have been amazing." All right, so let's move on to this. This is another favorite of mine. This is number 5 from Grabian. This is the media begging for Trump to be impeached.
That this could lead down the road to impeachment, but we weren't anywhere near that yet. Does this breaking news tonight change your view on that?
Are we getting closer and closer to the possibility of yet another impeachment process?
So in terms of impeachment, are you taking action, working with Republicans, or doing anything that would actually move that agenda forward?
Do you harbor any hopes that you will find a conservative legal mind to match your desire to proceed with impeachment?
Are you suggesting that President Trump should face impeachment?
No, I'm not suggesting that.
Congressman, what is your case for impeachment?
Explain. Yeah, what do you think of this impeachment possibility? What's more needed to prove obstruction of justice than the president fires the guy coming after him after asking him to drop the case? What more do you need?
Is that impeachment is the remedy. I mean, the president can't...
It's the only remedy.
Please impeach him. And the reason they want to impeach him is because Donald Trump Jr. has committed treason. I mean, this is the hyperbole. I mean, we've dealt with emotionalism, hysteria, now hyperbole. This is cut number 3.
Does that mean that Paul Manafort, Jared Kushner are bordering on treason as well, as along with Don Jr., and then also that Michael Flynn is bordering on treason, and that the president himself is bordering on treason, because all of them have sought out damaging information about Hillary Clinton from the Russias?
Thirdly, there's outright treason. I mean, there is no question that what he is doing is giving aid and comfort to the enemy.
Donald Trump Jr., what he did was a threat to our democracy and borderline treason.
Is the facts reported in the New York Times article come very close, if not crossing the line, with respect to treason, if those facts are true.
It's treason. It's treason. None dare call it treason. I mean, so this is the news that people are getting, right? It's treason. It's Russia. Russia's taking over. Jimmy Kimmel's kid is dying because of the Republicans, and it goes on and on and on. And I just want to close with what is in this Grabian list is their top thing. I want to remind you of the way that Obama was recovered. Obama, who did smush the economy. Obama, who abandoned the Iraqis. Obama, who wouldn't go into Syria, who let ISIS spread like a wildfire. Obama, who wanted to use the IRS to silence his enemies. Truly, what should have been one of the biggest scandals in this country ever that he used the IRS to do that. Obama, whose Justice Department we now know was so corrupt that they were actually turning a blind eye to the drug dealing, the influx of cocaine coming in from Hezbollah. We now know this through this Politico article. They were turning a blind eye to the the influx of cocaine from Hezbollah, a terrorist group, in order to make a deal with Iran, an even larger terrorist group, to let them, what is ultimately going to allow them to get nuclear weapons. This is the way the reporters treated Obama.
We've seen a lot of achievements over the past 8 years, including signing hate crime protection legislation, don't ask, don't tell repeal, marriage equality nationwide, and ensuring transgender people feel visible and respected. How do you think LGBT rights will rank in terms of your accomplishments and your legacy?
Thank you, Mr. President. Long before today, you've been considered a rights president. Under your watch, people have said that you have expanded the rubber band of inclusion, and with the election and the incoming administration, people are saying that rubber band has recoiled and maybe is even broken. And I'm thinking back to a time on Air Force One going to Selma, Alabama, when you said your job was to close the gaps that remain. And with that, what gaps still remain when it comes to rights issues on the table? And also, what part will you play in fixing those gaps in your new life? And lastly,
the least I can. So the last question is the one we cut it off because it just goes on for a long time. But the last question is just a woman saying it's been an honor. It has been an honor to cover this delightful, delightful president. But you know what is interesting? Again, just talking about the difference between the book of the news and the book of nature, the book of reality, is that the Democratic Party was destroyed by Barack Obama. He's now left this leftist party, which may or may not regain strength. But of course, as Ronald Reagan told us, they can't help themselves. They govern like leftists, and so they always get thrown out of office. So even while they created this saint in Barack Obama, and even while the racial pathology that they have sold to America meant people weren't allowed to dislike him, and he's very popular, his programs were not popular. If they had been, Democrats would have been elected with the same enthusiasm that he himself was. He was an excellent politician. He did a great job. But even the news media, doing what they were doing there and doing what they're doing to Trump, cannot override reality. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. The 2018 midterms look dangerous right now, but we'll see what happens if the economy takes off.